Hey everyone, and welcome to a quick review of your starting arsenal in Fallout the Frontier. When you jump in, you have 5 weapon options presented to you going into the game. Today I will do a quick review of each of these weapons with a character that has maxed out points in guns, explosive and energy weapons, as well as 8 points in all of the specials. Here is the list of weapons with their raw numbers on screen compared. But going into each and every one of them specifically, starting out our list, here we have the sniper rifle, which is, well, just a sniper rifle. A makeshift one at that, as you can see from the scope for example. But you know, it still does the job at aiming down at enemies at range and hitting them with a bit of a bonus extra damage, with the criticals being more often triggered than normal weapons. This also of course helps with the critical spot targeting, like the head. But sadly without that, the DPS seems to suffer quite a bit because, you know, without having to hit those certain specific spots either in VETs or outside of VETs, the damage itself doesn't seem to do enough to kind of sustain yourself with it with just regular combat. But you know, again, as a situational sniper weapon, it does the job. Next up, we've got a shotgun, and well, the shotgun option is actually rather solid. Most people will tell you that shotguns can only be made good if you have specific perks related to them. For example, the one that makes your pellets ignore some armor, because, you know, the game doesn't actually favor weapons with multiple projectiles, or rather pellets, that has a small damage per pellet, as how the damage resistance is calculated. However, this shotgun can redeem itself by being very effective in close quarters in VETs, which is, well, where the VETs is most effective at anyway. And if your style is to blast enemies at point blank range, then this is pretty much the best choice you have in this list. At range, without utilizing critical spots like the head though, it does seem to suffer just like that weakness I mentioned earlier. But you know, again, the weapons here are all sort of situational. Next up, we have the assault rifle, and well, sadly it is probably the weakest of the bunch as far as I could tell. Again, I have no specific weapon perks that would probably help it in certain ways, but the high fire rate doesn't seem to really make up for its lacking in terms of bullet damage. You know, the DPS does seem to be alright in the weapon card, but in practice it doesn't really make up for it or live up to that sort of damage that it suggests. And even if I concentrated my shots on critical spots like the head in VETs, it still struggled to deal enough damage to save my skin in, you know, proper combat. And couple that with the fact that it eats up a lot of ammunition as well, you know, 50 round magazines, as well as a 5.56 damage or a bullet type, is probably not really a good combination. If it was like 5mm, I would be more forgiving for that. But also add on the fact that it has a restrictive sight that is very narrow and hard to aim with, and you know, it doesn't really do well in long range. It's overall just, I would say, a pretty underwhelming weapon to choose. Coming in next is the grenade launcher, which is thankfully the proper opposite of the assault rifle. It has power, it has magazine size that puts it to a clear advantage to something like its regular grenade launcher counterpart. It has range to which you can arch your shots up properly, and it has area of effect damage like all the other grenade launchers in the game as well. And while yes, that does restrict its use to kind of mid-range, since, you know, close range you would probably damage yourself too, it does still mean that it's a very, very strong side grade to have in your arsenal, which you probably want to bring along anyway, because it's unlikely that you won't be using any other weapons in your playthrough on the Frontier. Last but not least, we have the laser rifle, which, just like the grenade launcher, requires you to be specced into a different weapon types, not explosive, not guns, but of course energy weapons. And being the only energy weapon of the bunch, it doesn't really have a competition because of this. But for a character like mine, who pretty much has the same amount of points in all of these attributes, it still had a decent amount of stopping power and performed really well overall. It has a scope, which means that it can be used at range. It is actually decently accurate in VETs, and even at close range I could aim with it quite well and deal a decent amount of damage to save my skin if I needed to. But yeah, it's probably, I would say, the most balanced options of the bunch that you could choose. So yeah, that's pretty much all the weapons. Overall, I can choose a clear winner in this bunch. I can say with confidence that I wouldn't be going for the assault rifle, but the sniper rifle had its range advantages and criticals, the shotgun was good at close quarters and VETs, the grenade launcher was very good at medium range, and you know, it had a great area of effect and stopping power in general. The laser rifle is probably the most balanced of the bunch, with being able to be used at all ranges pretty much. And yeah, it's just a pretty great lineup of weapons. But yeah, that was it for this video. Please subscribe for more content like this, and good luck out there in the Frontier, people. See you, everyone.